and welcome to my channel. I am Care Monique. If you are new here, my channel is all about designing. I am a footwear designer and handbag designer who did not go to formal school. I am self-taught, and I now teach other folks who want to get into the design space in fashion, design their apparel, footwear, accessory, or handbag line. So this channel covers all of those things, and I have so much fun doing it. But the first thing I really need to do today is I have to give a special shout out to all my beautiful sorors. Today is our 109th Founders Day. So I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh! And we have given 109 beautiful years of service to our community, sisterhood, and scholarship. And I am so blessed and so elated to be a part of such an amazing organization. When I tell you it's an honor, it's an honor. So happy Founders Day to all my beautiful sorors. And that's why I wore my J13 sweatshirt today. But anyway, in today's video, we are actually going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts to designing your first collection. And we're going to do two parts. The first part is going to be on footwear, and then the second part, women's footwear in particular, and then the second part, I'm going to do some basics on some do's and don'ts of designing your own handbag. So let's jump right into this video. We're not in my traditional background because I wanted to be in my little mini warehouse because I wanted to show you all some things. So the very first thing that I recommend for the do's and don'ts. So let's start with our don'ts. So I recommend that you do not choose a material for your footwear that does not make sense for the style of shoe. So I'm going to show you some designs. These are not my designs. These are shoes that I purchased, but I'm going to show you the same shoe. It's a woman's loafer. This is actually a woman's loafer. And how they did a good job with one fabric. So this fabric forms to the foot. It's a velour. This is actually a velour fabric. And it fit like I can wear this shoe effortlessly. It's perfect. This is the same loafer, but listen to it. They use some kind of foil. It's crunchy, and not only that, it's peeling. So material matters. It also cracked. So it actually, the shoe, when I got it, it came like this with this smooth material. When I wore the shoe, it cracked and peeled. So the material that they use, this is like it feels like a foil, some kind of foil plastic. I'm actually gonna tear this shoe apart because I wanna learn a little more about this shoe. But you see how I'm able to just like pull some of the material off? You should not be able to do that with a good pair of shoes. So this is not a good fabric, a foil fabric for a shoe that all I'm doing is walking. This is a flat, so my foot is not changing positions a lot. They just didn't do a really good job. So I wanted to say that. So that's my first tip. The second tip with footwear is understand stitching and placement of parts of the shoe. So this same shoe, I don't know if you all can see, there are threads coming out of this shoe. Part of it is because I want to cover up the label. I don't want you all to see who this brand is. I'm going to cover up the label because I don't want to call anybody out. That's not what this video is about. So I'm going to cover up the label that's inside the shoe. But they stitched this shoe way too close to the perimeter. They should have brought this down. So this isn't even a quarter of an inch. They sewed the shoe right at the perimeter. So what happens when you do something like that is that when I go to put my foot in, depending on, how tight my ankle is fitting or anything like that, it's rubbing up against this. And what happens is with threads and everything, if they aren't sewn really tight, they're going to start to rub off. They're going to start to loosen and open up the oils on the feet, socks, friction, all kind of things. So I recommend that you understand stitching. This is way too close. I'm going to show you stitching that's really good. So here's a boot. Now this one is mine. It's stitched much further down. So even if a stitch were to unravel or something, the top of the shoe would not be about to come apart. Like you all, I'm scared to pull this because I know it's going to unravel the top line of this shoe. And you can even just look at that and see the difference of how far down this one is stitched and this one. So that's my second tip, is understanding the placement, because shoes will come apart, they will get destroyed. And then also how far you want your stitch to be. So this stitch looks like it's definitely a single stitch. This one is also a single stitch. This one is about, this looks like it might be a quarter of no, this might be about a millimeter in between each stitch. And this seems tighter than that. I'm not exactly sure how tight, but this looks really tight. So anyway, I just want you all to know it matters. Your stitching placement, especially around your perimeters, your tongues, flaps, and anything like that. You do not want that stuff to come apart. So that's my second tip. My third tip for footwear, mistakes you don't want to make, is colors. So here are some samples of shoes so I am all into the platform. I'm really big on comfort in my line. So a lot of my shoes come with platforms. So this is a style of shoe that I did launch. I actually launched it, but I launched it in colors that were way better. I launched it in like a blue, I launched it in red, black, and I believe yellow. I wanted to launch it in gold, but when I picked the gold material, it might not translate as well on camera, but it looks so cheap. And I'm so glad I got a sample made, because the quality of, and this one has a little nick. I did some testing on this shoe. But just the quality of going with this suede material over this aluminum. It wasn't aluminum, it's some type of PU. I can't remember, it's been a while. But it just does not look well on the foot. I tried it out, it did not look well. Now it feels great. It's a super soft, I love this fabric, but I wouldn't use it for an entire shoe because it didn't turn out well. So I recommend that you know about proper color fabrics. I'm sorry, the first tip was fabrics itself, but colors. The other thing I'm going to show you, so this is a beautiful design of shoe. So this is a style of shoe that I was going to launch. I ended up opting out of it, but the colors and the material that they use, patent leather, it looked like a clown shoe, and they did it in another color too, y'all. I told them I wanted to color block a shoe, and I gave them some design ideas. I gave them another shoe. They just turned out so cheesy and so terrible because they're patent leather, one, and then also they don't go. So this should be darker. If I was going to do purple, I would have done a darker purple. And you all, part of this process is I let them use, I said, hey, what materials do you have? I was really focused on the shape of the shoe. And I told them I wanted to do some kind of color block, a really fun spring color block. And I let them just design it, my manufacturer. I didn't send a lot of tips or anything like that. And they came back with some horrible stuff. So this is another reason that you always want to test stuff. I'm so glad, though, that they tested these, because I was like, these colors are horrible. I would never do this. Now, would I do yellow and pink and purple together? Yes. But I would have totally done a really, really deep purple. This wouldn't have been lilac. I actually would have changed this to a purple that's closer to this one if this were dark purple, and this would have been a different pink for sure. I might have even went, instead of pink, it might have been like a fuchsia, almost going into the red undertone family. But color placement matters when you're trying to color block shoes. Like, these colors actually aren't that bad to me. the patent leather and the shape of the shoe. I wouldn't do it on this kind of shoe. I would do a different shoe because this looks silly to me. But the colors are just awful in this patent leather material. But I could totally see, because you see this is blue and this is blue. I could totally see a blue color block shoe working out if it was not this patent leather clown looking design. So colors are really going to matter, and the placement of colors are going to matter. The last thing I want to mention about shoe design is accessibility to shoe, like actual wear of the shoes. So I'm going to stick with shoes that I've made. So going back to this boot, I know some women have cankles. Now, is this a pretty wide hole? Sure, but not really. I wanted to make sure, without interrupting the design of my shoe, I wanted to make sure that women could get into the shoe. Some people would put a zipper on the inside. For me, that's an interruption of design. The reason that's an interruption of design is because there's a seam in the front. So this, putting a zipper in the back right across from the seam, makes way more sense to me. The design is fluid on the sides and the breakup points are in the front and the back. So that was important to me. So the access to this shoe is actually the zipper in the back. So now that little hole that you originally had, you have way more room to get your foot and ankle in there and zip up the back, and your shoe is not interrupted on the side, because a lot of folks put zippers on the inside of the shoe when there's no seam on the other side or anything, so it breaks up the design. So you want to make sure access to the shoe makes sense. I'm going to show you one more. So this is a boot. I never released it, a scrunchy boot. And this actually ended up getting super popular before I was able to release it, which is why I didn't release it. I had an idea for this scrunchy boot, and then I saw all these designers come out with scrunchy boots. But the access, and I'm actually glad I didn't release this boot because the circumference of this boot in the calf is actually not big enough when it's scrunched. But placement, like I said, I would have done better. So even though it's a scrunchy boot, I'm showing you right here, there's a knot. I tied a knot so that the string wouldn't loosen. But if I untied that knot, you can stretch this all the way out. So there's definitely room for the boot to stretch up and down the leg, but there wasn't a lot of room for the boot to stretch around the calf. So I am reconstructing this boot, something very similar, where there's going to be a short zipper in here for better access to maneuvering your calf into the boot. So that was one of the things. So for me, I don't have really big legs on the bottom or ankles. I could get into this, but I know the average boot circumference is going to be about 18 centimeters around. I knew that wasn't gonna, 18 inches around. I knew that that's not gonna be enough for the average calf though. I go up to size 13, so I need to accommodate for the fact that oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes larger feet can equate to larger calf sizes, taller women, different things like that. So just making sure the shaft, the circumference, and all of that made sense for the boot. So those are my tips for boots. I am now about to go grab one of my handbags, and we're going to talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of handbags. Okay, so since we're going to talk about handbags, I decided let's talk about my handbag. I recently released actually it's a tote bag. It's not a handbag. It's humongous. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of creating. This can translate to any kind of handbag, but I'm doing a very big tote bag. So the first thing that I recommend, that's why I left it in this bag, I recommend that you create a design that travels well. And what I mean by travels well, something that you can box well enough, whether you want to use a box, whether you use a bag, whatever, how big packaging, it doesn't matter what design you want to do, but whatever it is for the protection of your customer, you want to make sure it can travel from your manufacturer to you, from you to your customer, or whatever, very well. Since my bag was super big, I made sure that my bag was able to be folded so that it could travel flat. Reason being, one, it saves a lot of money on shipping for my customer. Also, storage. I was thinking about, this is not necessarily an everyday bag for my customers. This is a work bag. This is a travel bag because of the size of it. A lot of folks would use it as a carry-on or something like that. So I wanted to make sure that my customers were able to, when they unpack their bag, they could fold this bag down and store it somewhere. That's a very unique selling point. Do a lot of people care about that? Maybe. It was something that I thought about, though, because of the way my house and my storage and stuff is set up, and also the way I like to organize. I don't have a lot of space for humongous bags to be sitting around. I also don't live in a mansion, so I don't have a walk-in closet that has a whole wall of purses. Sis has to put her purses away. So I wanted to think about those kind of things. So you want to not only think about the functionality of wearing, but also how does this bag fit into your customer's life, period. You should be thinking about that with every product. But anyway, I'm going to take this off now. So we're going to start with the don'ts. So my bag is a whole bunch of do's, of course, because I designed it and I know what it should be and how good it should be. But my first don't would be, don't choose a material that cannot stand the test of time. We're talking about, so this is my bag. And this actually, that fold dent, it actually, it goes right away when you put your stuff in it. But right now I'm just going to rub it out a little bit. But this is one of my bags, and the material, I made sure, so it's a faux leather because I don't use any animal in my products. I decided to do a faux leather, but the biggest thing that I made sure was that it was wrinkle proof, because I know that my clients and customers are potentially going to have to fold this bag down. I didn't want for when they fold this bag down, when they unfold it, it's all wrinkly or it will never hold its shape again. I made sure of that. So that is my first don't. Is don't choose a material that's not good for the structure, the construction of your bag. This is a tote bag. I know it's supposed to sit upright. Can you use a scrunchy type material or really soft leather if you're going to use a bag that has a drawstring? Absolutely. You know why? Because that purse is not meant to sit up. It's not meant to sit in this type of stance. The second thing that I recommend is that you really focus on the construction of your bag, the little details. So for me, a major detail for me was I wanted, so these have tape on it because this is a new bag. This will be pulled off, but these are gold little feet. I wanted to make sure that my purses were level once stuff went into them. Because what happens is bags topple over. If you've ever been to a restaurant or something and there's not a lot of places for you to put your bag, you end up putting your bag either on the table or on the chair next to you. And there's nothing worse than your bag constantly falling out of the chair or off the table. So I made sure to put these feet/rivets on the bottom of my bag so that it could be level no matter what goes into this bag. This bag, it's literally sitting on my lap right now and I'm shaking, and I had to shake to even get it to slide. You want to make sure there are little intricate details that matter to your bag. Another intricate detail, believe it or not, that mattered to my bag is the inside. So there's a large strap. This is the large strap. So like a crossbody strap that goes on the purse. I wanted to make sure that these folded down. Because when someone is carrying the purse, I don't want these to be, if you don't want to have the strap, these to be getting caught onto things or anything for them to break, or for just like, when I tell you, I just didn't think it looked as clean either with him having them sitting up. So I made sure they were able to fold down, because when you're not using them, they're out the way. Or even once you snap your strap to it, they're out of the way. So that is really, really important. And then just slight detail, because my bag is so simple, I made sure all my hardware was the same. The camera might not show it well, but it's gold hardware all around my purse. Everything is gold. The straps and everything, the zippers. The other thing you want to focus on is the functionality of your zipper. I have some purses where the zipper is actually too short. If you're not a designer, you wouldn't necessarily know that. But this is actually the proper length for a purse zipper, for this type of purse. The reason it's the proper length is because you should have some pull. You should have some type of pull for tension. Because what happens is, if the zipper were to only be from here to, from just here, like if it stopped here, right where it is, if it stopped here and only went here, this zipper would be easy to break because I don't have any room. If you see right now, like just having enough room to like, just like if this got jammed or anything, what would happen is, because this is the end of the zipper, it would break off. But because I have enough room, I gave some give in this purse for someone to actually zip that purse up, and you know, you can slide that back in there. The likelihood of this zipper breaking, so slim. You want to focus on the details. I don't care how minor it might seem, the details are going to matter. So my other tip, I have one more tip for designing a handbag. I recommend that you design your most, how do I want to put this? Not your most intricate design, but I recommend that you design the bag you want to design starting out. You can always scale back. Now, some people say, no, start with the easy designs and then work your way up. Sure, if you want to do that, but the handbag industry is such a popular industry right now. I recommend that you find the unique factor about your design or your bag, and mine is the size actually. So this bag is actually the same size as like a Never Full bag, like a Louis Vuitton Never Full bag. My bag is super deep. The difference is I have one of the only bags on the market that's considered Never Full that actually zips. It actually zips down, like it can be worn to work as a tote bag. So you really want to focus on the design piece of what you want that's going to set you apart in the market. Don't get caught up on creating a super trendy bag or trying to create just a small bag to get your design out there. Create what you want to create, because that's going to give you the true creativity and excitement around your brand that you've probably been missing out on and looking for. So those are my tips for designing, the do's and don'ts of designing a shoe line and the do's and don'ts of designing a handbag. I hope this video was super helpful for you all. Of course, I post a video every single week. Please feel free to leave some comments below about where you anything you want to learn, anything you learned or liked in this video, any other tips and stuff that you want to share, you want me to share with you all. Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. Also like and subscribe this channel. Please share this video. Please leave me a comment, and I will see you all next week. Bye bye.